Hello everyone, Spanners here. This is the live stream, so you don't have to panic, okay? This isn't the start of the show. If you look in the show notes, there is going to be like a timestamp and you can go to the front of the show. And the only reason that I would change that or edit it is if me or one of the panel was to say something legitimately litigious in the pre-show. So, yeah, those of you who caught that live probably know what I'm talking about. But we are going to be previewing the Singapore Grand Prix today. I have had a very, very interesting day, and I want to chat to my friends a little bit first and make sure that the live stream can hear me. So the last time I did this, I did this whole, like, hilarious bit, and it was fully on mute. So, first of all, I'd love the Discord. The Patreon Discord, they hang out with us, patreon.com/Missed Apex. They hang out in the Discord channel, in the live stream channel, and they say, can we hear you? And, oh my gosh, there's no one in there. I'm alone. There we go. Stuart's going to tell me. I'm going to check the stats, see how many of you there are watching. Oh my goodness. It is in the dozens of you. Yeah, because we don't have a regular kind of live stream time. And to be honest, I'm glad no one watches this bit live because we have a chance to panic and edit things. And especially Matt. Matt is the one that you're the most trouble, I think, during the pre-shows.
Always.
Oh, you've
say litigious things.
Yeah. You're always
I
accusing
forget where we
people.
are. I interrupt the openings, and then I forget that you're recording the real opening, and I talk over it. It's kind of my thing.
You have done that. Yeah. Stuart says, "Yay, Chris is here." No, it's not Chris. It's good Chris. It's Chris. It's Christina's here, not. It's Chris Stevens. Hello, Christina.
I'm the best one. Hello. I'm back.
You can claim to be the best Chris, but let's not, because someone already said Joe was the best one in the live chat, and that upset me. Joe was on fire. I don't know if anyone caught the recent Joe Sayward episode, right? But
I saw clips, yes.
I didn't share clips of the worst bits. So there was bits where I was genuinely worried, and I went, hang on, are we in trouble? And I'm like, well, that is Joe's opinion of that individual, and he has said it, and he was of sound mind and body, and he didn't message me saying, Spanners, get rid of that bit where I called somebody the lowest form of human life. So I don't know, Matt. I think we're allowed to let it ride. What I didn't do was clip it out and then put it on TikTok, because that would have been pure clickbait, I think.
Yeah, that puts you maybe at a slightly more risk, but it's the thing. People have opinions you are allowed to have. And Joe certainly has good context for developing the opinions he has.
Okay, so for this whole show, though, I don't want any strong opinions from anyone, okay? We're all going to be chill. We're all going to say that we just hope everyone has fun. No, we're not going to do that.
It seems like a challenge.
Until we start talking about hockey. So, like, Christina's equivalent to Van Gien just going off on one, or Christian doing poems, is just randomly talking about hockey. So I look through your TikTok is like, I'm follow you. Your TikTok comes up, and then it will randomly be, hey, here's my hockey clothes, or hey, I'm watching grown men beat each other up on ice.
Well, yeah. What else would I be doing with my time but watching hockey? Preseason is just wrapping up, and not to brag, but my team last night, we won 8-1.
How much
against
did you contribute
one
to
of the
that?
teams in our conference? Like, I'm very excited about it. It was good.
Sports fans are so funny. Like, we won. Like, you were on there with your skates on. You contributed. Yes. Did you buy merch?
I have acquired a fair bit of merch. I've also acquired from some free t-shirts. I have been one of the lucky fans to catch them from the cannons. Let no one say that I'm not athletic and don't have good hand-eye coordination, because I've caught not one, but 2 t-shirts from the cannons. That takes skill. That is not chance.
Or the t-shirt cannon guy is specifically trying to take you out. I think at this point, we have to think like the t-shirt cannon guy, he's got it zoned in. It's like, oh, she's back again. She is loud, and we need to take her out.
That might be it. I do wear like pom-poms on top of my head as well at all the games, and those are really good to aim at, I think.
I was personally thinking of the poor child next to you whose hand you probably ripped the t-shirt out of, but
there was that guy. Did you see that guy who turned out to be the CEO of a company? By the way, Matt, you can come back up a little bit. And did he take the baseball out of the kid's hands? And like, no, it was a hat, wasn't it? It was a hat that was being signed.
It was a tennis. It was a tennis at the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was horrible. And he was like, I don't understand why people are angry about that. Wouldn't everyone just take things away from a kid because they wanted them?
Because you were being awful.
No. In fact, no. You were a tragic excuse and waste of oxygen on the planet, sir.
Did you come up? Did you come up?
Not yet. I was on my way to do that, but then felt
It's okay. So that's fine.
Oh.
Confessional. This is a kind of day where I feel very jealous of Cristina. Cristina, you never drink ever. You are.
I cannot. Correct.
You can't. So yes, because you then unleash a set of superpowers, and then you have to join a ragtag bunch of meta-humans. No, you're allergic to alcohol.
Yes, that is correct.
Oh, man.
That is, yeah. Drink alcohol and I go to the hospital. It's great. It's fun.
Well, some people, have that without the allergy to it. But oh my god, yeah. So we went out with friends last night, and they could drink. They were drinky people, and I should have seen the signs when they said to me, "Are we drinking or are we drinking?" And this was from the lady of the couple. She said, "I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean?" Yeah, and she says, "Well, if we're drinking, I'm going to cancel my fitness classes in the morning." I'm like, "Oh my god! I thought we were just going to get some Chinese food. What's going on here?" But yeah, we wandered into a trap. We had a very lovely time. We ended up coming home at 1:30 in the morning. We are 45 years old, and this is our day off. Both of us got the kids to school. And then we were in bed till about 2 p.m. So my day started fully at 2 p.m. I'm 45. I'm starting to feel like I will never learn. Well, thanks for your contribution to this.
I think the available evidence suggests that you may not be wrong about that.
Whatever. I'm just going to keep drinking now. Waiter, come on. That was meant to lead into a conversational, you're not radioing very well. This is my chance. Someone sees that and goes, oh my God, what great radio banter those two have. We should put them on Sirius FM after Conan O'Brien or something. And no, just sit there in silence with your trumpets. Great. Thanks, mate.
We just know when to leave you hanging for maximum effect.
A rising tide raises all ships. So at that point, you should have been like, what a hilarious anecdote, Spanners. Oh, please tell us more.
That only works for ships. What if we're submarines, Spanners? Don't tell me what type of naval vessel I am. Don't constrain me like that.
A submarine isn't a ship.
Be a submarine.
A submarine isn't a ship. It's a boat.
But it's a vessel, right? It's an aquatic vessel. Would that not be an accurate way to describe it?
Captain, there is a vessel off the port bow. Right, this has become very silly. We're gonna talk about F1 now, which is pretty cool. We had a break at the weekend, and we had some interesting feedback actually from the Ricciardo episode with me and Catman. And these two won't have seen it; they only listen to the shows they're on. Right, the shows they're on, they watch it back on a loop for the rest of the day. But no, me and Catman talking about Ricciardo. Catman, massive Ricciardo fan. Still, yeah, he was a massive Ricciardo fan.
I'm gonna have to change my opinion now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because he's slightly evil. But I loved what Ricciardo did for F1. But really, we got some feedback going are you being too harsh? But the vast majority was that career just Ricciardoed out, didn't it? It just Ricciardoed out. It just plateaued, and it was horrible to watch unfold. Yeah. Anyway, the best I can compare it to is, you have that little run on a computer game, and then you team up with the people that you're playing with online, and then you just keep losing. And as much as you want to stay in your little squad, you have to call time at some point.
I still, to this day, would love to buy him about 72 beers and either get him or his McLaren engineers to explain to me exactly what was going on with that car. Because I, in a very general sense, he couldn't figure out how to drive it. But I remember listening to him being coached on the radio, actually at Singapore, turn by turn by turn. And how could you be so good in that Red Bull and decent in the Renault and just absolutely struggle in that one car to the point where you lose yourself and it's gone. You can't find yourself again. I mean, I know it happens to people. I've seen it happen to musicians and stuff, but wow. Well, I want to know what was wrong with that car. What was weird about it?
No, I think it was the yips, man. I think it was the yips. And I think
it was yips?
Yeah, I think it was yips. And also, I think he said, I don't want to take these risks anymore. And the normal human reaction is to be scared when you're going at F1 speeds. It is a complete, he hinted at it, which is basically why am I going to risk, hurting myself, when, but yeah, that's just the the way it worked out. Someone's like, get on with it. Do F1, like that meme where they're poking the stick, poking at Mr. Apex, going, do F1, do F1. It's like, yeah, but if you're watching the full show back, you can click the link to the show start. Sorry, still recovering from what I think was
From
COVID.
yesterday?
I know from what I think
from
was
the 3 beers that you had.
Oh, I wish it was 3 beers. No, but I think there was COVID. There's been COVID going around basically in the UK, and I think that's commonly being reported now. But no one cares anymore. Everyone's just like, yeah, whatever. We'll just take it on the chin, and it's just that long tail that COVID has. So yeah, you feel terrible for a week or whatever, and then you have a few weeks of just feeling rotten.
And he's feeling rotten.
And thank goodness for my mute button. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's like that when you get old.
No, but someone's saying, hey, get on with it. But yeah, like obviously, like if you want to listen back, you click the audio and then you'll get to the start of the show. But this is the bit where I'm just catching up with my buddies. I've not spoken to Cristina for like 5 or 6 weeks. And
it's been a while.
Yeah, and
you just disappear sometimes.
I have people asking me when I'm going to be on the show next.
Good.
And I'm like, I'm traveling. I'm out of town. Spanners never asks me if I want to hang out or chill.
There we go. That's the
not
one.
True. That's
And
not true.
We were all wondering.
That's not true. And the beauty of Missed Apex is that when people are busy, Missed Apex doesn't go away. It's still there for them, which is fantastic. Like Antonia was away; she was out of the country for 3 months, and now she's got time, and she's able to be on the show. Chris Stevens, when his commentary career is kicking off suddenly, now we can't get him during the regular season or for race reviews, and so we're all hoping and praying that his career peters out in a Ricardo style, so that we can have him on more. Stuffey went and had a baby, idiot. So, but it happens. People ebb and flow, and they come in and out. And like any hobby, you fall in and out of love with it as well. So like for Van Gien, he'll fall out of love with it, and then he'll fall back in love with Missed Apex when he's got a YouTube karting video to promote. So,
and that was like 5 minutes on one of his shows. On one of the times he's on, in 5 minutes he'll be out of love with it, in love with it, and then he'll hit a microphone.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go. I think I can do this. I think I'm all right. I'm looking forward to the topics we have to talk about. Start with the Singapore Grand Prix, I think. I need to flick off the video as well when I'm doing that, when I'm like trying to get a hold of myself. All right, here we go. I think we're okay. I think we're good to go. Do the spinny car, which has become tradition, which is good. You are listening to Missed Apex Podcast. We live F1. Welcome to Missed Apex Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Reddy, but my friends call me Spanners. So, let's be friends. We'll be looking forward to the Singapore Grand Prix and talking about some of the news stories knocking around. And it's a critical time in the season. Singapore is not a Grand Prix I particularly look forward to as a TV viewer, but this is a crucial round in the evolving story of the 2025 F1 Championship. And we cannot predict how we are going to feel after this round of racing. Maybe Verstappen gets the 25 points and the McLaren boys flounder around and crash into each other. Then even the doubters will start to wonder if Max can do the impossible. Maybe Piastri stretches his lead and puts one hand on that trophy and puts the nervy performance he had in Baku to bed. Maybe Norris cruises home while carnage ensues behind him, and then that McLaren title fight is fully back on. Either way, I can promise you this. My opinions will flip-flop erratically based on the last thing I've seen and whichever narrative I'm pushing for clicks. We are an independent podcast produced in the podcasting shed with the kind permission and support of our patrons and partners. We aim to bring you a race review before your Monday morning commute. We might be wrong, but we're first. I'm joined by FIA accredited journalist Matt Trumpets.
You said it, not me, partner.
If you want to know why I said that, go and listen to the Joe Sayward episode. He set the podcasting shed on fire. I am getting constant streams of comments about that. All comments made with the opinion of Joe Sayward and not those of the wider organization of Missed Apex Podcast.
Yeah, it turns out there's more than one way into the paddock. Some of them are quite dodgy, but as a rule of thumb, once you've gotten there officially, you never call yourself an FIA accredited anything.
We're also joined by Christina Lee Mace from Canada Land. Hello, Christina.
Hello. I also have a lot of credentials, but I would like to point out the one that's resting on top of all of those.
What is it?
I ran a 10K and got a participation medal.
Did you finish the 10K?
Yes, I did.
Would you like to
course I did.
share your time?
1 hour exactly. Just
that's
like I
not-
planned.
That's not too bad. Well, let's run through some of the F1 news. Oh, do you know what? I thought that was such a sick segue, but I wanted to do the preview first. No, I want to do the Singapore preview first. I want to look forward to the Singapore Grand Prix, and we're pitching this as something recorded on the Thursday night. We're not going to make predictions. We want it to age as well as we can, so that you could still listen to this all the way up to kind of qualifying. And to do that, to look forward to that, I want to lean on Christina, who does a wonderful segment on her TikTok channel called The Bullet. And I personally, I look to The Bullet before every Grand Prix to find out kind of the track statistics, what's going on with the DRS, what kind of tyres we're going to have. And so it's really, really useful. For that alone, you should subscribe to Christina Lee Mace on TikTok. And so as we look forward to the Singapore Grand Prix, Christina, I am asking you, can you bullet us up?
That is a great way to put that. For anybody wondering, it is called the bullet because it's good bullet points to know ahead for
I
race
like that.
weekend. So there is logic
I
behind it.
never even thought
It sounds
connected
snappy.
those dots.
I say it in the intro
Oh,
to
okay.
a lot of the video spanners for someone who claims to watch. You
don't-
need to listen better.
I can go home to my family and get accused of that kind of thing, Christina. Come on, what do we need to know
Oh,
about
my
the
goodness.
Singapore Grand Prix?
Well, what everyone's going to be talking about this weekend, I think, is of course the humidity. That goes without saying because it's Singapore. You're looking at 70 to 80% humidity. So temperatures in the cockpit are going to feel like they're around 60 Celsius, which is cooking. And it's a long race. Last year, without any safety car intervention, the race took 1 hour and 40 minutes. With safety cars, the race does frequently get close to the 2-hour time limit that you get without the presence of a red flag. So it's one of those events where you don't just have the drivers in an uncomfortable situation that is pushing them to their limits, but they're going to be uncomfortable like that for a long time. And that 1 hour and 40 minutes is without including the pre-race ramble that they all have to go through of being in that car, being standing out there while they do the national anthem and all of that. So it's a long period of time. But the big thing for this weekend is that they now have the option of wearing those cooling vests. And
In the car?
some
In
of them
the car?
might choose to wear it. Some might, yes, in the car. They get to
Oh.
wear a special designed cooling vest in the car. Now, it's not mandatory this year. They can opt instead to just have the equivalent weight added to their cars if they want to just suffer through or feel that the vest itself is more uncomfortable than it's worth. But according to George Russell, who did test it in Bahrain, it was pretty solid. So that's the big conversation probably looking forward to this weekend, as well as all the typical chaos that comes from a street circuit.
Yeah, it'll work great until it accidentally starts pumping heated liquid through the vest for you. No, it's interesting. I like the vest thing, but there have been some real issues with it, specifically with where the tubes are versus where the belts are. And just like I think Sainz said the last time they tried it, his lasted for maybe an hour, which he's like, well, it's better than nothing, but still. It's a technology in process. So it will be interesting to see how it works out this weekend. But yeah, I can't see the downside in trying it because it will, as anyone who runs know, and apparently you do that now, Christina, as anyone who runs know, that as it gets hotter, your performance does degrade. So potentially you're also looking at an advantage at a track that is so technical and requires such a high concentration level.
Yeah, and Christina, now you know as someone who eventually finished the 10K that your body heat does kind of build over time. And Sebastian Vettel just came out with a quote I think that sums it up, which was, well, you can't run from the heat in Singapore. A lot of the drivers talk about the humidity, and I think you just have to get into that mindset. I'm not saying this totally as an armchair person. I'm talking about this as someone who's done NBC chemical attack training where you have to wear the full charcoal lined suits run around. They had you run around playing football in them, and you've got the gas masks and stuff. And it can be so suffocating and close. You go, you are going to compromise a little bit of your performance, but you just have to get into that mindset where you go, yeah, okay, unless I think it's going to boil me alive, this is just my reality now. So you kind of go, okay, well, they have been surviving at the Singapore Grand Prix for decades. Why now? Why are we suddenly having this reaction where we're changing the equipment that they're using?
It goes back to that race in Qatar, the same one where they had to use the multiple sets of tires because they were blowing up on the curbs.
Oh, they had a stint. They had a stint limit, basically, didn't they? So,
yeah, I think it was like 20 laps or whatever, 15 laps. But the issue was that the temperature was very close to what was called the wet bulb temperature, which is essentially where condensation from your body sweat evaporating from your body will no longer cool you because it won't actually evaporate at that temperature. It's so humid. It's a combination of the humidity and the actual ambient temperature. So the FIA looked at that and said, well, that is a problem because we had people like throwing up in their helmets and we had one driver pull off, unable to finish the race. So they instituted this new rule and developed this new technology. It's not new technology, but they developed it specifically for Formula One. And this is the first time we've seen a high enough ambient temperature they've decided to implement it, which is actually in the regulations. I think it's above 31C.
I think if you give the driver the choice, if there is any kind of performance advantage to putting the ballast elsewhere, the overriding temptation will be, like, I'll take the ballast then. Because you know what they do with the water bottle? They had that for a while with the water bottle, isn't it? Like, they could reduce weight by not having any water, and they would even do that like during a race like the Singapore Grand Prix.
Absolutely. I mean, drivers will take any advantage they can think to get. And I do think we're going to see a big divide almost of who takes the vest and who doesn't. And I do think that some of it is going to come down to age. You're going to have the old school guys, maybe not age, but perspective on racing.
Yeah, I was going to say
the ones that are a bit more,
yeah.
the ones that are a bit more old school in attitude. So Hamilton and Alonso definitely, but also Verstappen. I feel like they're just going to go, no, we tough it out. This is racing. You just go and do it. And then you have the younger ones, or at least those with just a different mindset, who are going to go, this is a new piece of technology. If I can try it and it might improve my performance, why not? It's the same resistance that we saw, not to bring the F1 movie into it, but you have the two drivers. You have Brad Pitt, who's going like, I'm going to juggle these balls, and that's going to prepare me to, go and race a car. And then you have all the technology advanced.
I remember going through a period
that Joshua Pierce are using. Yeah.
Apologies, your Zoom cut out for a second. I wasn't trying to interrupt you. But I know that there's like guys who were born in like the early 70s would look down on guys who were born in the 90s because they'd carry around water bottles. And there's a big thing like, why are you carrying around water? It's like, so I can be hydrated during the day. And you go, guys that were born in the 60s and 70s are like, no, just grizz it out. Have water when you're done. So yeah, there might well be that divide. But apart from that, what should we look out for the Singapore Grand Prix, Cristina? Because it changes. The track layout changes. The DRS zones change. If I could find that information out from you and then find out the tyre things from Matt, that would be perfect.
Absolutely. So we're looking at 19 turns, no major changes on the main track except some resurfacing. It's very patchwork. It's not like, a giant sector has been redone. It's corner to corner sort of a thing. And then you also have 4 DRS zones, but only 3 activation points. So 2 of them are sharing an activation point, which is always fun to see if somebody just overtakes in that first zone and then keeps running with it in the second. But the one big track change really to make note of is that they did widen the pit lane. So it is 1 meter wider, and it does mean that their pit lane speed limit has gone up from 60 up to 80 kilometers per hour.
Oh.
So there's going to be less time loss in the pit lane. Exactly.
That's
so more teams are probably going to have a good 2-stop strategy on the docket as a plan B, or just available to them as well, considering the fact that a safety car very much is likely to come out.
I think, isn't it all but one Singapore Grand Prix has had a full safety car? So like this,
and that was last year. Yeah,
very high chance of a safety car. But pump the brakes on, it will definitely do a 2-stopper. But what it does mean is it takes less time then to go through the pits. So there's a chance that you could do a 2-stop. But that comes down to the tyres, Matt. What kind of tyres are we looking for the Singapore Grand Prix? Presumably the hardest possible. No, it'll be the softest possible, including the C6, and you can still do the whole Grand Prix on a set of softs.
Well, it's actually going to be neither of those, but you're closer with the second one. It's going to be the C3, 4, and 5.
Oh, okay.
Same as last year. And the challenge here is going to be thermal degradation. Tires tend to overheat, so you see people managing their pace for that a lot. That's going to matter in qualifying, especially when you get into Sector 3, and that's always been the case. It goes back before this regulation set. But in the race as well, the cars that are better on their tires in terms of managing the heat, and this would be very much a McLaren wheelhouse.
Oh, no.
Will be the ones that tend to do better in the race because they'll be able to pick the length of stint they want. It's a strong undercut, about a second and a half immediately. So that is about the only way you're going to get much of an overtake, because otherwise you're pretty limited to DRS zones if you're lucky. And resurfacing, Christina mentioned, is interesting because one of the turns that was resurfaced was between turns 14 and 17. And that's where the infamous bump was that caused some people to have trouble with their DRS. We don't know if the bump is still there or not. But if it's not, that could maybe change how the DRS plays out during the race. Strategy-wise, it's a nailed on one stop. Last year's winner was Norris, pitted lap 28. And with the exception of Hamilton, everybody started on the medium tire. He finished in the top 6 and pitted between lap 27 and lap 38.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it is Singapore. It's more about the mistakes you might make. And as far as the safety car goes, if it doesn't happen at the beginning, probably going to happen in that lap 25 to 35 where everybody's fighting to get the best possible pit entry for themselves.
So it is a track that will bite you. So we have seen mistakes made. So if it's wet and there is a little weather around, although I'm not holding out for a wet race, but that infamous 2017. Oh my God, the 2017 Grand Prix. Christina, I'm sure you've caught up on the events of that. I don't think you were watching F1 at the time, but that was Verstappen, Vettel, Raikkonen, the two Ferraris coming together, sandwiching the Red Bull, and then crashing out Raikkonen. I think Verstappen didn't survive that. Vettel survived for a little while and then skidded on his own oil. Hilariously, right, and I say this as an Alonso fan, Alonso had probably the greatest ever start I've ever seen in a Grand Prix that put him from 45th to about 6th. And all that did was make sure that he was in the correct position to be completely wiped out by the Ferrari Red Bull battle that had happened at the front. And Lewis Hamilton just then goes like, oh, okay, can't believe it. Thank you very much. And as someone who at the time was a card-carrying Ferrari hater, it was spectacular. Like, I just could not believe that F1 gods had gifted me this wonderful moment. I didn't cheer. I didn't whoop. I just had my hands on my head just going, it can't be real. I must be living in a simulation. I've read the Red Dwarf novels. I know that the simulation is trying to trick me into not wanting to leave. That was wonderful. And then you had George Russell trying to chase down, I think, Carlos Sainz a couple of years back and really just over pushed it in the aero wash and he put it in the wall and it bit him hard. But you will get punished for making a mistake here at Singapore with the runoff areas as well. But my overwhelming impression of Singapore is that it is a track where it's a one-stop. Cars will drive very, very slowly to make sure that one stop happens, like they do in Monaco. It's a track where you're feeling aero disturbance 8 seconds back. I think they say 8 seconds back due to that wall. Yet, due to the walls, the walls bring the air back in and disturb the air for 8 seconds. Despite all that, Christina, people love Singapore. They go on about the glamour of it, the importance of it. Like, this is the original, okay, we can have one terrible street circuit where the racing is bad as long as it's pretty. But like, why does it hold so much like magic for some people?
I think a lot of it comes down to the epic radio messages. Like, it carries a lot of this race and a lot of the memories. Like hearing the cries of the drivers over the radio and the cursing when something does not go their way or they go into a wall. Majestic. Hearing Carlos Sainz whisper into the radio, it's on purpose for keeping
What?
all of the DRS trains. Do you not remember this?
No.
When he was winning, he said it was on purpose to keep everyone close enough in
Yes,
DRS
I remember.
that Norris couldn't be overtaken, but
That
that
was
Norris
it.
couldn't overtake him.
Oh, so it was Russell behind Norris, behind Sainz. That was it. Yes.
Yes.
Well done, yeah.
Yes. But you get little messages like that where I think the drivers are, for one, a little loopy, just like Australia, because they're keeping European time. So they're up in the middle of the night as their office day, going to bed at 2, 3 a.m., sleeping during the daytime, and then getting up again. So their bodies are already feeling really weird from jumping time zones, being in the humidity, and not changing time zones at the same time. Then they're being asked to do this race. I do think that them just being a little wonky and really funny on the radio does carry a lot of weight with what makes this race entertaining and memorable.
So it's hot. It's basically a weird time. They're just out of sorts, and strange things happen. Of course, we did have the infamous Ferrari tweet in was this 2017? The infamous Ferrari tweet. So basically, Vettel squeezed Verstappen into Raikkonen. That's what caused the crash. And they tweeted out, yeah, Verstappen took out both Ferraris. And then they followed that up with the biggest gaslighting F1 tweet of all time and saying, what we tweeted was a true statement of events and no need to question this. I think it was something like that, wasn't it, Christina?
I think they used the word factual.
Oh, a factual.
But yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, and it was like, no need to speak further. No need to speak further on this.
It was very much, this is what happened. Do not discuss it. That's it. That's all. Stamp it, no erasers. And I kind of loved that. You know what? If you're gonna back up your driver and support their rights, support their wrongs, you do it full chested. And I love when admins do that. I love when they're just like, yep, that's our driver.
Yeah.
They did that. Don't worry about it.
You cannot question Ferrari. This also, Matt, this is a good one for you. I think it was 2018, and I never saw, this is my regret, I never saw this qualifying session. I was driving back from my radio station job because I was on the radio. Do you remember when I was on the radio briefly for 4 years? Do you remember when I was at BBC?
I do remember that.
Do you remember when that validated my life and my career choices when I was a BBC radio presenter? I was driving back from that show. It's over now. Let's not talk about it anymore. I was driving back from that and I was hearing the BBC commentary on it, but it was the Lewis Hamilton like miracle lap of nowhere, last action of qualifying, and just blew the field away with an incredible qualifying lap.
Yeah, this is the one because especially Mercedes had just been terrible, absolutely terrible with their rear tires and always, and as we will probably see this weekend, tend to struggle with that. And somehow they managed to get his tire not just into the window, not just in the middle of the window, but imagine if you're playing darts, you know, you've got the bullseye and then you've got the center of the bullseye. Imagine if there was like a 1 millimeter center to that bullseye. That's where they got his tires. And it was just absolutely magnificent. Like everyone will be, this is like one of the best laps anyone has ever driven in a Formula One car.
Wasn't the trick that they really crawled? They had to crawl. So that perfect window was at a much slower outlap speed than anyone else anticipated.
Yeah, no, that was definitely part of it. But there is like this magic tire temperature, and if you're right on it, you've just suddenly got access to more grip than almost anyone else ever has ever. And I don't know, it was a lottery ticket, but they also worked very hard to give themselves the probability of finding it. Yeah. It was like amazing. I was charting actually. Here's a little divergence. I was charting the progression from P3 to qualifying, and I charted it in a terms of percentage lap time basis. And when you get to Singapore, it's just like a spike that goes straight up for Mercedes. For Hamilton, it was such a stunning improvement over where they had been that weekend. Yeah, it was just wild.
And when you talk about that as a miracle lap, obviously that comes down to the engineers as well, the strategy team. Everyone's combining to go, hang on a minute. What if we crawl? What if we crawl on our outlap? And of course, that wouldn't be allowed now because it causes chaos and you've got minimum lap times and stuff. I have to say, a similar trick at Ella Park. Matt, you were there, and Kyle did some reconnaissance laps, and he just out. It didn't mean anything to him. Normally in karting, you start, the tires are cold, and then you have to get the heat into them, and suddenly they start working. And he went, no, these tires are going off straight away on the long curves. He said the first lap, the cold lap, is the fastest. And so I listened to that and I crawled around and I made everyone wait on the outlap, and then I skinned about 5 people, and that's why I ended up finishing 4th in that event. Some very, very good drivers. So that was basically the same as Hamilton 2018 qualifying at Singapore. Basically the same.
Basically the same. Yeah.
Cristina, anything else like bullet related to keep our eye on for the Singapore Grand Prix?
I feel like we've covered everything pretty well, honestly. We're all ready to go. Oh, unless does Matt have a thought?
It's going to be tire related.
A little thought.
Well, it's interesting because this is actually one of the tracks at which Hamilton has historically been most successful. And if I don't know where I got this fact from, but I have it written down here that a certain Max Verstappen has never won this race.
Sure.
Yeah, everyone keeps tempting him and being like, "Oh, you've never won here. You've never been successful." And you're like, "Do you not remember what happened when you told him that about Baku?" And then he went and was just like, "You know what? Grand Slam. Deal with it." Why are we tempting him with a good time?
Also, like, they love these kind of statistics, and it's basically anomaly hunting. So they look for a pattern, and that pattern will naturally fall down. So if you say, yeah, look, the last 7 roulette spins have all been red numbers. So, really, a red number is a surefire thing. It could just be you have this natural kind of flow where, yes, sometimes you get a run of reds, you get a run of blues, a run of blues, a run of reds, a run of blacks, and then people really glom onto these. I think you can pile this in with the hot hands fallacy, when you talk about hot streaks in sport and stuff. And we keep seeing statistics. Like when Hamilton was doing well, they would say, well, no driver has ever done such and such from such and such a position, and then he'd go and win. Because if you have the right car at the right time, you are going to go and win. Whenever you see those stats saying, well, this thing hasn't ever happened, or this thing hasn't happened for 7 races, it's nearly always not the most useful thing to predict things with.
Well, we're not predicting, but this has been a bit of a bogey track for the car as well. So, there may be a little bit to it, but since we're not predicting,
no,
we don't have to worry about it.
But we can do championship maths. So, right, I will say, let's move on to championship maths. We can do that because I think, this is, by the time the race comes around, this episode is completely irrelevant. So I want to say with the title maths, we'll start with Lewis Hamilton. Some stats for Lewis Hamilton. If Hamilton scores the maximum 199 points from the next 7 race weekends, and Piastri is disqualified from the entire championship, like Michael Schumacher was in 1990 something, and then if the 4 remaining drivers DNF nearly every race, he will be crowned champion in Qatar. So that's the first bit of championship maths I've got for you. It is still possible. For Leclerc, the maths is much simpler because he does not require Piastri to be disqualified. So all that is to say, Hamilton is the highest up driver who is mathematically not going to win the championship. Leclerc is mathematically still in with a chance, but realistically it's down to the McLaren drivers and Red Bull. And in the media day, they were all going around, they were asking the drivers, like, what percentage chance do you think Verstappen has of winning the championship? And it's all things like from 20%, 10%. Verstappen said, well, 50-50, I either win it or I don't. But Russell looked Lando Norris straight in the eyes and said, 100%. 100% Verstappen is going to win that championship. But okay, we can put our necks a little bit on the line and just say, well, Cristina, is there actually a chance? Is there actually a chance that Verstappen can get some results and start being back in the fight?
Yes, absolutely. This is a driver and a team, not the same team. It has changed a fair bit, but this is a driver who not even 2 years ago won pretty much every single race in an entire season and went on an exceptional run. To count him out in any capacity when it's still mathematically possible for him to win, or even just to be a giant pain in the McLaren's backside, would just be rude. Like, that would be discounting a lot of Verstappen's skill, talent, and his desire to just stick it to everyone who tells him that he could not possibly. He's not going to back down until it's completely impossible for him to win the championship. And even then, he's still going to go for all the victories he can. Like, he's not done racing this year by any means.
For the talk of the McLaren car dominance, And I do believe that on balance, the McLaren has of course been the fastest car. I'm not disputing that, but the Red Bull has been pretty good. You have to look back at some major incidents over the course of the season when we did not think Verstappen was in this title hunt at all. And obviously the first one is, I think, perhaps 18 points, 15 points gone from Antonelli just chinning him. Was that going into the first corner in Hungary or Spa? One of those two. It might have been Spa. But yeah, Antonelli took a big chunk of points. Hungry? You don't. It's a podcast. You don't have to mime it. You can just say
Habits. Old habits die hard.
what track?
Oh yeah, it was Hungary
It was
because it was
Hungary.
going up. Yeah, it was going up the hill into the sharp blind corner.
Was it? Oh right, I thought it was
Yeah.
turn
No,
one. In my
Austria.
head, it was turn one. It was
It
Austria.
was Austria.
Turn
Yeah,
three.
It was
now I
the Red Bull ring.
recognize the
was the
incident
Red
you're
Bull
talking
ring.
about.
So Christina,
Yes.
you were right of the description. It was up the hill into turn 3 in the Austrian. Yeah, you were right there. But yeah,
Yes.
that's big points loss, which didn't seem important at the time. But then the other one is that when he definitely deliberately hit George Russell in a temper tantrum. How many points did that cost him? Like 12? I don't know. That could be huge now. Like if he ends up, imagine if he ends up losing the championship by the amount of points that he lost from having a bit of a meltdown and hitting Russell on purpose. That would be a big one. Well,
My
that would be
goodness, that would be a stat that would actually haunt him, and
Yeah.
no one would let him forget it. And we would get a lot of not temper tantrums, but very terse responses in press conferences.
yes. You would get the
Especially
terse
if-
responses. I think that overall he would claim like, no, I don't care. I'm not bothered by that.
He
Doesn't bother me.
he would pull out the
Mm.
cheeky comment of like, yeah, well, if my mom had, she'd be my dad, kind of a vibe. He'd pull out more
Yeah.
of those, but you know, you do also have to have journalists that ask the question of, hey, especially because the likelihood is he's going to mathematically be eliminated before the final race, which is going to give them time to ask him the question, do you wish you had done these things differently? Because then you would still be in it. And he'll give those brush off responses most likely, but the reality is, you know what? Yes, he would have much better of a chance to win a 5th consecutive championship if he had kept a level head. And typically he is so good at keeping his
Yeah.
eye on the goal, but this little bit of frustration that did chip into that and allowed all of these small moments, or at least especially the Russell one. The Antonelli one was just bad luck at the end of the day that he was the car that was there that got tangled up with that. But, you know, allowing his frustration at a situation to get himself a penalty, to put that situation with Russell on the table, to lose points, that is on him. And that's something that he's going to have to stew about.
If you're Verstappen, though, that attitude and just conducting yourself in that way has been pretty beneficial to him. It's been beneficial to his career. It's very rarely cost him anything tangible. And so this would be the first time where that kind of action, that kind of character trait really cost him something substantial. But despite that, obviously, we can put that out of our heads as we talk about championship maths. Yeah, I think you could go into this weekend. I think Mekis was talking about how their slow speed performance had improved. Like they'd done something with the nose. I know Sonoda had been pushing. There was someone on Twitter had tagged me. Sonoda had been pushing for a change in how the aerodynamics on the rear floor was working, and it seems like the car has genuinely come together. So do you know, Matt, do you have any insight into why in the last couple of seasons Red Bull looked completely lost? I think it was either last season or the season before. I think it was the season before where they were dominating, and then suddenly they just could not function at the Singapore Grand Prix. And I think it was to do with the floor.
With the floor, but fundamentally it has to do with how they managed short radius, low speed corners.
Short
It's simply
radius.
much like we saw with McLaren at Baku, even before we got to the racing. It is just fundamentally, this is the track that combined all of the things they weren't great at into one
Right.
circuit. A lot of turns, a lot of them slow speed, a lot of them short radius, where in the Red Bull, you have an efficient at medium to high speed corner, lots of downforce. That's where they get their ability to just leave the other competitors in the dust. So it will be interesting to see because he has finished on the podium here. But I like the point that Armando makes that and I agree with Max, it is 50-50 because it's a binary. He either wins or he doesn't. I personally think if you're going a little more nuanced than that, he has somewhere between 0 and 0% chance of actually winning, but that's just because I'm me. But he makes a very good point that what he's really going to be playing is the decisive role in who wins between Norris and Piastri.
Yeah.
And I do see that as being a role, the Joker, that he would happily embrace to the end of the season while winning a couple more races along the way.
I believe him that it would not affect his life. So I do believe like it's not going to be do or die. The first championship is different. You have to wonder like, well, the fourth and fifth championship, is there much difference in that? Is he hell bent on getting 8 to be the highest world championship holder ever, or is he very determined to do his best in an F1 car, but also has an 8-month-old child? It's really consuming. It does change your perspective on the world. And I'm going to talk about Norris and his comments to Fashion Magazine, whatever fashion magazine it was. Christina's going to kill me.
Vogue,
Yeah. I'll talk about those comments in the news section. But, for Verstappen, it's not going to affect his life because he's going to go back to this lovely family he has. He's really getting into his sports car racing. He's got an eye on Le Mans and stuff. And while I'm sure he's absolutely committed, I believe him when he says, well, I either win or I don't. I don't think he is going to cry tears if he is unable to secure this specific title. But yeah, it really, really interesting to see if he can at least ruffle feathers at McLaren, because I think McLaren are feeling the heat on the back of their collar. And if Verstappen becomes a serious threat, I don't think McLaren will favour one driver or the other. Let's say we get 3 races in and suddenly Verstappen's within 25 points, within 30 points, and one of their drivers is in the lead. I don't think at any point they will say, right, we need to win the driver's title, so one of you has to get behind the other.
Right. I just think you're correct. I don't think it's on the drivers. I think it's on the team. But for me, McLaren's going to have like a Sam Michael level of collapse and inconsistency for him to have a genuine shot at this.
Man, that's a bit of a niche reference. Yeah, I was going to say.
That is going back a bit, but you knew what I meant.
Yeah,
you knew exactly what I meant.
You've got to put that in context for listeners.
That was 2012. And Lewis had a car with which he could have potentially won the championship, but he had an appalling variety of incredibly slow pit stops and cars that exploded on him mid-race. And at the end of all of that, Niki Lauda talked him into going to Mercedes. But yeah. He had the performance in the car to do it, but the team was so inconsistent. And it was Sam Michaels in charge of it. For those of you who are Australian, I'm not convinced it's 100% on him, but that's definitely the way it got reported at the time.
You're the reason we get hate from Australians, not me. It's nothing to do with anything I've said about Piastri and Webber and Ricciardo. It's all your Sam Michael stuff.
It's just that one Sam Michael comment. Yeah.
I think this is leading us into news. Big dirty news. So I'm going to start with the Lando Norris magazine interview. So we talked about it in passing with Joe, and I gave my off-the-cuff impressions. He'd made a comment along the lines of, my priority isn't the World Championship. My priority is having a fun, lovely life with my friends and being a lovely person. And you kind of go, yeah, that's a fairly good ambition. But I said, well, hang on, though. Doesn't that slightly take away from the hunger, the hunger of a top athlete? At least lie to me a little bit. If I'm buying your merch, I'm wearing a Norris shirt right now. I'm buying your merch. If I'm cheering you on from the grandstand, if you're getting a paycheck from McLaren, even to your board, the sponsors. Who are the sponsors? I've never looked at the sponsors on here. Android. Did Android want to hear that it's not your number one, commitment? And is not the F1 Championship a worthy enough goal to sacrifice a little? To go, okay, I can park a little bit of my 20s and I can tell my mates, yeah, I can't go bowling tonight. Yeah, I know bowling's sick. It's great. But, maybe you can do another hour in the simulator. Isn't this prize worth a little bit of sacrifice? And life is tough. Some things are tough in life. And if you want the very best, maybe you do have to push. Maybe you do have to make it a priority. And I just really found that comment a little bit worrying. And I don't know if I'm alone, Christina, but I don't know. Here's what I got accused of. I got accused of that being toxic masculinity. And I am aware that I do have that trait and that kind of upbringing. So tell me if I'm way off the mark.
I think that it's just Norris in particular has always ruffled people's feathers with how he just thinks more distinctively, I think, than a lot of other athletes do. He understands how for him it's not healthy to concentrate wholly on the championship. There are some people like Verstappen that hyperfixation is how they exist. If they were not being Formula One drivers, they would still have had something to hyperfixate on.
Okay, well, I feel
And that
seen,
is
but yes.
and
Okay,
that
continue.
it's a trait that exists in the
Mm.
majority of athletes because that is what it takes for most people to reach those levels. But if Norris is an abnormality where he is saying, I don't need to hyperfixate, I don't need this to be the only priority I have, that's fascinating to me. That's something where I want people to ask him more questions about that. Why wouldn't I want to
Yeah.
hear from someone who just approaches things? Because to be fair, most athletes give the exact same answers when you ask them those questions, and it's boring. You're going, yes, I get it. This is your whole life. This is the only thing you think and breathe about. Fantastic. Why are we interviewing you if you're not going to say anything different? So I just do appreciate hearing him say something
Okay.
slightly different because you're getting to actually dig into the psychosis of an athlete a little bit more because he's given a real genuine
He's
answer
honest.
as
It's an
opposed
honest answer, yeah.
to the company line.
Herb says, don't read into it. It's just sports coaching telling him to keep repeating he doesn't care because he cares too much. So that could be like internal reverse psychology. Maria says, I think it's stretching his comments a bit too far. I assume that's what I said. Mark said, I don't need my sportsmen to want to win at all costs. What? Yeah, I don't need like my League 3, like little league team. I don't need Colchester United to win at all costs. I'm not expecting those guys to like put their bodies on the line to try and stay in League 2. Where we go, we've got basically a mix of comments here. And Armando said, this is not the mentality of World Drivers Champion, which is kind of where I'm leaning. And okay, I'm gonna expose my working class chip, right? I know I'm with some posh kids here, right? I know Christina's from breeding. You know, she grew up in a gated community with a river, and Matt went to conservatoire, like the highest form of music his land could offer, music school his land can offer. As a working class kid, if I wanted to go and get a job in media, I couldn't have my parents support me, for example, and then and focus fully on just right. I'm going to make my podcast. I'm going to make my content. Right. I had to do a full-time job with my family, then do a full-time job on top of that, doing my radio show and making podcasts and doing really pretty terrible audiobooks and doing like the worst adverts ever. I am going to release a Spanners adverts compilation of what I was doing in 2018 and then using all my holiday to sub in for radio presenters at the station I was working at. You know, that's hunger, and that's what you have to do if you want to like lift yourself out and follow your dream. And now I've got the grand prize of a mediocre career of giving my opinions to a medium-sized audience on a F1 podcast. But does Lando Norris have that hunger? Because his life is not going to crumble underneath him. As Pulp said, you know, if he calls, his daddy can end it. So that to me is like that he doesn't realize the impact of what he's saying on kids like me with chips on their shoulder to kind of go, yeah, I'm not bothered. Like the dream of so many kids out there that they would find impossible and wonderful and grab. I just don't want to hear him say, yeah, kind of. I guess if I sort some other stuff out, I'll win a world championship maybe. Like, can you, Matt, come on. Am I being too street rat?
No, you're not. And again, thank you for mentioning the whole conservatory thing. As someone who has had to make that work to be able to perform at an exceedingly high level, I'm not going to compare it to exactly where F1 is, but it was there. Not a lot of people get admitted to that program, and you do have to prepare for it for a long time. It is years of work and preparation if you want to get into a Juilliard or someplace like that. Does not happen overnight. I understand what you're saying. And for people who would dream of being in that position, the idea of anything being more important than that is difficult to comprehend. It goes against what you would expect. But the person who had the mental health thing on was probably about right, because in some instances, your best performances come when you're least invested in the outcome. That's when you find the maximum, I guess you'd call it a flow state, if you
Yeah.
were being fancy about it. And it may just be to him,
Yeah.
prioritizing that allows him the freedom to really race at his maximum potential. So I see that. You see athletes play lots of these
Sure.
different psychological
Yeah,
games
it
with
could be
themselves.
reverse
And that could be
psychology.
it. Yeah.
I just want to be clear. Like, I do value mental health. I could go off and on about how much I value mental health. I'm just saying that sometimes these ultimate prizes do require a little bit of sacrifice, and they do require compromises. Or you kind of go, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on that mental health thing for a little while, but just let me go and achieve this goal real quick, Christina.
I mean, absolutely. If you want to achieve a goal, you have to go all in. You have to be dedicated and nitpicky and so critical of yourself. But how many athletes do we know who that was it? That was their only goal. That was their only plan. It was the only thing they saw. They have one injury and then it's over.
Yeah, yeah.
It crashes and burns for so many athletes. And when you don't have something else that identifies you, that is part of your life, you see these athletes that are kind of just left there broken and empty because they did not think about anything else. And so this very well could just be Norris going, you know what? My life isn't going to end if I don't win this championship. Do I want it? Yes, absolutely. But everything is going to be okay because I do have all of these other things that
Yeah.
bring me joy and satisfaction. And having that very well could be the saving grace because you know what? Most F1 drivers don't win championships. Most don't even win a race. So he's already ahead of them as far as goals and achievements. Sure, he wants to win a championship, but it's not the end of the world if he doesn't.
And I would just add to that, just because you say that your friends or your life is the most important thing and winning the championship is the second most important thing, that doesn't mean you're not daily making every sacrifice possible to be at your absolute best in every race. And it will make you think that, but we are perhaps drawing an inference that isn't there unless we know more about, oh yeah, well, I've given up getting up at 6 a.m. to do the PT, and I've given up, I don't bother with the simulator anymore. Okay, now you've got a point. Now you've got something, and maybe you're wasting it. But if he's putting in the hours and he's putting in the work, then maybe it's a different story.
This might be a PR issue. I might well be reading too much into it. I'm just sharing my personal reaction to when I heard that. I went, what? No, 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 no. Lie to me. Just lie to me. That's all I want.
I mean, the Vogue interviews also have a horrible record with how they represent the drivers. These are the same types of interviews where we got a year or two ago them talking about how one of the driver's eyes, it might very well have been Norris's, like sparkle. So,
Well, don't they?
like,
What don't they? Don't they, Christina?
I can't say that I've measured the luminescence of any driver's eyes, no. But, these interviews, they are fluff pieces. They're not actually meant
no,
to
you're
be
right.
deep dives into a driver's psyche.
Wait,
They're not being done by sports journalists.
Did I take something massively too seriously? How spanners of me. But speaking of sparkles, did you see what happened to the unicorn that was on Sainz's helmet?
Is it not there anymore? What happened to Sparkles?
He took it off. Don't worry, Sparkles is safe. I can't believe you don't know either. Cool, I've gotten to break this news to a few people. He took it off, the sticker off, put it on the back of the podium trophy, and it's gone into the cabinet and it's staying there forever. Carlos Sainz.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, a young lady fan asked him to put a unicorn on his race helmet, and he did. And now it's on a Williams podium trophy forever, which I like. Charles Leclerc. So, some news has been leaking. I can only presume from the Leclerc camp, because the rumors are that he's been talking to Aston Martin, Williams, and Mercedes. So these were the teams specifically named. And I'm sure agents talk to other teams all the time, but this has made the news. It's been leaked. Clearly, someone wanted everyone in the press to know that Leclerc has been having talks with Aston, Williams, and Mercedes. Perhaps they wanted Ferrari to know. Perhaps they wanted teams like, I don't know, Red Bull to panic and go, oh my God, he's available. This is great. But it does start to feel like he is a want-away driver. And my prediction before the season started was that, Ferrari would start to elbow him out. regardless of how Lewis Hamilton did, because they spent so much money on him, really you have to make him your number one driver. The only problem is, how do you solve a problem like Leclerc? Well, what you do is probably you start to make it very clear that you're going in a Lewis Hamilton direction in 2026, and then these rumors come out that he's starting to talk to other teams. So I'm Christina, you're Leclerc's manager now. I'm putting you in charge of Leclerc's career. Are you talking to other teams? And what are you going to do?
Absolutely, you're talking to other teams. You would have to be absolutely ridiculous and bad at your job to not be talking to other teams. The big challenge with Ferrari is, and always has been, that they're so resistant to change. Everything has to be Italian. Everything has to be in the old ways. It very much feels like they're the team that peaked in middle school.
Oh no, Christina, no,
That
that's too
that
much.
that's what it feels like. A lot of the times they're resting on previous success
They're
and
like the Man United.
parroting
They're like the
that.
Man United of football. Oh my God.
I will pretend to understand that reference, but yes. And they do have to be chasing more current success. And yes, going and backing Hamilton is a fantastic idea, except for the fact that he very well might be in his last contract. You can't not say that. And they have Leclerc, who is the driver that they've had since he was a part of their driver academy. And if I'm Charles and I'm looking at this and going, okay, what is my best chance to win a championship? Is the dream that I want to win with Ferrari and help it get this team get through all of these challenges that they specifically have created for themselves? Or do I see a better path forward? Now, do I think that that's going to happen for 2026? No, definitely not. No one's going to really take a chance of switching teams at that point because new regulations and all of the things that have previously been said on that. But I think you do just get the temperature. You go and you see, okay, who would be interested? What would the options be? For one, it makes Ferrari sweat, like you mentioned. And for two, having other teams know that Charles might be an option means that they're more cautious with signing other drivers. And that's, you want them to do that. You want them to know that they might keep a seat open for Charles if you would want it.
Well, it is. The politics of changing teams is all about maintaining all of your options while denying everybody else theirs. We saw this. Sainz was a classic example. It wasn't at Mercedes. He wasn't finally at Williams. And you're like, well, that's probably the best thing. And now he's got a podium. So it was better than maybe we thought it was. But what I think of with Leclerc is, yeah, you could have this big story. You could have this big story about him and Ferrari pushing him out, and you can see the money being spent. But honestly, if I'm a Leclerc in my prime and Hamilton, I've got a couple of years at most to deal with them, I'm not going to be fussed about that. The easiest way to get him to walk if you're Ferrari is just to keep on building him cars that won't quite win a championship. And they've done an excellent job of that. We saw Lewis walk from McLaren, saw Vettel walk from Red Bull. I think as a driver, you spend enough time, and especially if it's your first team, and I bet we see this with Norris too, you do get to a point where you start looking around and going, I wonder, that grass kind of looks greener over there. Maybe I should give it a thought, or at least pick up a really big paycheck for all my not winning a championships.
And half the time, it's even just getting into a new environment that can feel really nice. You might not be fundamentally changing the quality of the car. Maybe they're, a couple tenths here or there, depending on the track that they're at. Sometimes it's even not a giant performance thing, but you get an athlete in a new environment, and all of a sudden, they just feel clearer. And maybe that is just what Charles needs, is that this is close to a decade of just frustrations that have built up with one team. So maybe it just is that, working with new people would clear all of that away and give him a better shot.
Yeah, and at the same time, it is F1. Drivers and managers always talk to teams constantly. And the thing is, you never know when it's serious or not. But one thing we do know that's serious, and it is very much a change of scenery, is McLaren has taken the unusual step of booting their most talented and storied youngster right out of the academy. Have you caught up on this, Christina?
A little bit, yes. I was surprised to see it because Alex Dunn does seem like a talent that is being talked about. And it seems very strange for McLaren, a team who's had success in developing drivers and bringing them up towards, not Formula One in this particular case, because those seats are filled for the foreseeable future, but, they would be funneling people to IndyCar. They have WEC now and endurance racing. They did just exit Formula E, but that had been a pathway they'd been pushing drivers towards previously. So they have all of these options that are good. So it'll be interesting to see, who was it that pushed for the change? Do we know that? Was it McLaren releasing him or Dunn choosing to walk away?
Well, I think it is the implication from McLaren is we offered him options, but they weren't satisfactory, which sounds a lot like we weren't considering bringing him to Formula One ultimately, and he thinks he has a shot at being there with another team. So we've let it slide. And the other thing about this that I've heard is that it seems the team that's getting mentioned the most right now is Red Bull. So what's happened to Lindblad?
That's a magical question. Red Bull and their junior drivers they're never short of being slightly dramatic. And I do appreciate it. It is fun continuously keeping up with them and seeing where they're going with things, but Lindblad has been putting in the work. And it seemed like, even a couple weeks ago, he was in talk to go up to one of the Racing Bulls seats. So then what is the plan? Shuffle one of the drivers in those 4 seats out? You'd have to assume Sonoda because the Honda connection is gone. And then you move up, which, yes, I agree. Boo, keep Sonoda at all cost. Like, absolute favorite driver. But that shuffle would be completely changed because Hadjar, yes, going up to Red Bull would still be the most likely. And then what? You're going to have Liam Lawson and Dunn? That seems so strange and counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's like something has caused them to reevaluate because they did. You're right. They went to him. They went to the FIA. They got him special permission. They asked for special permission for a super license. Maybe they got that nixed. I don't recall the outcome, if there was an outcome to that story. So maybe they felt, but Dunn doesn't have enough points either for a super license right now. In 5th in the championship. I think he needs to finish 3rd to nail that down. So it might not even be for a next year thing, but it might be for the year after. But it really does. It's very intriguing. And I'm curious to find out where he settles.
Maybe Red Bull's just planning on buying a 3rd team and are counting
there
they
you
have
go.
enough chicks
Why
before
not?
that.
Yeah, and I'm sure all of those will be entirely separate entities, completely different teams with no interference whatsoever. Yeah, I'm glad you guys keep a little bit more of an eye over the junior series because I don't invest in these guys when they're coming through F3, F2, and I wish I could dedicate more of the weekend to watching those junior series, to be honest.
They're fun.
But I don't. But there is chaos. Like Baku was pretty chaotic, wasn't it, in the F2? Well, no, Monza in the F2 was the one that was chaotic, and there was drivers going off left, right, and centre. Yeah, and the title contender went off at Lesmos between the 2 Lesmos. No.
Yeah, we were just nodding our heads in agreement because we remember it very precisely.
I'm seeing you all watch the junior series as much as I do as well. But here on this panel, I have to say, we do watch other series. So we do get accused a little bit of being too much of it in an F1 glaze. And glaze is the new word that people in their 20s are using. Oh, the Lando glaze, the Max glaze. That's a what? Christina, you're too old now. Don't pretend you have an opinion on the cool words anymore.
I'm sorry. Why are they describing people like they're donuts?
Yeah, exactly right. Why? So, but that is what they're saying. So they're saying, oh, the Verstappen gaze over his GT3 win is insane or whatever. That's what they're saying.
I don't like that.
No, I don't either. But I have to deal with it because I have children that call me bro, no matter how many times I lock their phone for doing so. Right. But we do get accused of being very F1 centric. I have to say that, Matt is very much into his MotoGP. All 3 of us are into our Formula E. Christina in particular as well is into IndyCar. And, we've all been and seen a bunch of NASCAR races and stuff. So like we do appreciate other motorsport. And, me and to a lesser extent, Matt will get into a go-kart and try and set a fast lap. Between you and me, Matt should have accidentally set a faster lap than he's been able to do so far. But, that's fine. That's fine. But Verstappen getting into that GT3 car in between races, going into a brand new series, into a track that he's only done in a detuned engine and on the sim track, and then going there and winning his class, because GT3 I think is the fastest class in that VLN series, Christina. That is a pretty freaking cool thing. That is a really cool thing for an F1 driver to just go and do between F1 races.
It's really satisfying to see. It's, for one, always satisfying to watch Verstappen when he actually gets to go wheel to wheel with people, which we did not really get to see that in this race. But that was partially because so many of the high-ranked, incredibly skilled GT3 drivers were off doing WEC. So important context to add for that. But it's very exciting to know that Verstappen does have the speed to go wheel to wheel with those drivers. That's incredibly exciting to know. And I'm looking forward to it because, yes, he has all that experience on sim racing, and we know he's absolutely brilliant. We know he's very adaptable, very good F1 driver. But drivers still sometimes need a bit of an adjustment period to get into a new car, get used to things, especially going from single to multi-class racing, where it's not just, oh, here are drivers with a whole bunch of cars that are around the same speed and around the same skill level as me. Now he also has to worry about the AM drivers that are on track with him. And I'm looking forward to seeing him actually get to race and not just, get that 20-second gap. But this was a great preview. And hopefully we get to see him in 24-hour races soon.
So this is the Nordschleife. It's a very, very difficult track, and it's a good quality series. And even the amateurs there are good quality amateurs. So these are guys who are, experienced drivers. They're fast drivers, but they are amateur drivers. I think there was 2 pro teams in that class. So just imagine you're there in your VLN series, and then you find out that no, Verstappen, Max Verstappen is turning up, and you go, oh, Joey, the guys who finished 4th are probably like, oh, I'd have had a podium this weekend, but Max Verstappen decided to turn up and race.
Well, the guy who finished 2nd was snapping selfies with him. So I think for some people, it was delightful to have him there. But I found the most interesting thing to be how he went through the entire process of getting validated for the race, because it has its own very complicated set of rules. You have to do this many, this, that, without a single complaint. That to me was, that actually was like, a little chapeau there. Very nicely done, Max.
Yeah. And also what Max Verstappen has done, and this is why I kind of was going on my sort of rant of all the different motorsports and how, we are into these different motorsports. We're racing fans. We're not just F1 fans, just F1's the best one. But we are also sim racers. We run sim racing events. We spend a lot of time on our sim rigs. And Max Verstappen has single-handedly validated sim racing in like the eyes of the motorsport world. And if there was not for sim racing, he obviously would have taken a little bit more time getting up to speed. I'm sure he could have done. But the fact is, he's been doing lap after lap after lap for years and years and years on the Nordschleife in his sim. And I like top level drivers who do sim racing and driving all tell you sim racing is useful in the real world. Like, it's the same skills, but you have to obviously get used to the way the compression, as Verstappen put it, and the fear factor. So hand on heart, as a family man, I rejected the chance to go in these fantastic Rotax karts because literally, like, you can die in those karts. So I was like, no, that's not for me at this stage in my life. Van Gene did it when I didn't do it, and within a few laps had the most horrific crash that I cannot believe. It was like a Final Destination moment. Don't know, his wheel fell off and then he went fully into the barriers and somehow stuck a superhero landing. But yeah, motorsport is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. But the validation that it is a sport, that sim racing is a sport, that you do need those same skills, that it is valid to real life racing, it is just, I'm so grateful for Max Verstappen for bringing that to the world. That's my rant. That's my thing. That's the thing I've been beating the drum out forever. It's not a game, it's a sim.
The interesting thing too for me is the reaction of the other drivers. They're like, oh man, we're so jealous. If only we'd won enough world championships to be able to go do anything we want.
To go chill. Yeah, and that's basically what Lando Norris said, wasn't it? It was, well, you've won 4 world championships. That affords you a little bit of room to go off and do these side quests, I'm sure. Oh, by the way, clickbait headline of the week goes to the Sun Sport, a newspaper that I'm not exactly a fan of, but their headline was Verstappen set to miss 3 races as he pursues endurance racing. Yes, there's 3 VLN races, endurance races, that he won't be able to do because he's an F1 driver. But very clearly, that headline was trying to say that he was going to miss F1 races. Like, shut up! I'm going to find. I wouldn't normally name and dox a journalist, but I am going to find out who ran that and fully dox them, home address and everything.
Pretty clever though.
Yeah, it's not bad. I got the
Made
clicks.
you look.
He got the money. Okay, so we've covered that GT3, and I think in fact we are moving worryingly close to our 1 hour time limit. So, Cristina Lee Mace, wonderful to have you back on the show, and you are the best person to follow on TikTok and Instagram before a race for the bullet alone. You do a lot of good content, but for the bullet alone, where can people find you?
That is at Cristina Lee Mace on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, all of the places where you would think to look. If Cristina Lee Mace is available, that's me.
Is the bullet available on the Instagram and the YouTube?
It should be. I need to upload. I haven't uploaded the YouTube one today yet, but I'm going to do that right after
whenever
this.
I say
But
TikTok, we get a lot of old men going, grumble, grumble, grumble. TikTok, I'm not going to do it. Like, oh, for moral, whatever. Shut up. Just download all the apps. But Matt, can we get a link specifically to the Instagram and the TikTok of the bullet? Because like, I genuinely mean that. That is a very useful fan tool before an F1 weekend. So Matt, are you doing anything useful? Are you providing any kind of informative, detailed account of the race weekend for F1 fans to benefit from? No, you're not. You're sitting there playing your 3-buttoned instrument, the easiest of all the brass instruments.
By far.
Yeah.
That's all I do. Just play the trumpet. I never spend hours looking up obscure statistics for shows about Formula One. Nope.
Yeah. And in detail, putting show notes in so that just some like round-faced, terrible, bearded, aging, mediocre presenter can take all the credit for the information that you put in the show notes.
Absolutely. That would never happen.
But have you got like a gig or anything, or people should follow you?
I think I'm playing an Oktoberfest gig this Saturday in Cranford, New Jersey, but it's actually not been confirmed yet, so I can't say. And then, you can check out the open rehearsals. No, not next Monday. Never mind. Yes, I am doing gigs, but not right now.
I'm going to say Christina's plug was better. She did it. She did do it better. Yeah, she did do it better.
You think so?
From our point of view, I think Cristina might be a COTA, but I was just like tantalizingly close in 2 instances in getting an event in a Circuit of the Americas. It's not going to happen. May well be in Vegas. There's a very real chance that not a lot happens, but just turn that volume up and hang out in our Patreon Discord, patreon.com/MissApex. Watch Stuffey's live watch-alongs and just enjoy the community and hang out. Matt, is your hand up because you want to say something on the stream or you want to say something private?
I want to say something private.
Then we're on the stream. We're still on the stream. Okay?
Okay, good thing I didn't say it then.
Okay, we'll do the spinny car and we'll go by. I should leave it on unmute, shouldn't I? So that you can know what it is.
Everyone's going to be you won't believe what I'm about to say once we're off the air.
It's that one simple trick to lose belly fat. It's finally going to